Now this is a very important thing for us to learn. These are the five aggregates. I briefly mentioned this term before, but let's see how it fits into the model here. The form is shown on top in orange box. This is basically the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body. This consists of the form or rupa. That's number one. Then number two is feeling, or in Pali Vedana. Number three is perception, or Sanya in Pali. Number four is mental formations, or Sankhara in Pali. And number five is consciousness, which is shown in purple here. So these are the five aggregates, and the human being is basically consists of five aggregates. That's form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Now let's look at how one clings to five aggregates as self. Because of unwise attention, we see everything as permanent, satisfactory, and self, which is shown in the green bubble here. And because of this misconception or distorted perception, we think the form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness as this is me, this is mine, and this is myself. So we imagine or we think there is a real person controlling the whole process. But this is just a process and nobody is actually controlling this. So we have a false perception. There is a being within controlling this entire mass of suffering. This is also called Sakkaya Ditthi. You can see this guy with a tattoo called Sakkaya Ditthi. Now let's look at this Sakkaya Ditthi guy again, or the personality view in English. So there are two ways here. You can identify yourself. You can say the body is me, I am the body. Or another way, you can identify yourself by saying the body is in me, I am in the body. Same goes for the feelings, perceptions, and mental formations and consciousness. So these are the five aggregates. There are four ways of personality view. Someone can think, and so 4 into 5, for the 4 into 5 aggregates, there are 20 types of personality views. This is also sometimes known as self-identity view. In Pali it's called Sakkaya Ditthi, as I mentioned before. Now it all starts with ignorance. We see everything as permanent. For example, the eye, the object, ears, sound, nose, smell, tongue, taste, body, touch, mind and mind objects we all see as permanent. And because of our unwise attention or distorted perception, we see everything as permanent, satisfactory, and self. And there arises craving, clinging, becoming, birth, and eventually we'll end up in old age, sickness, and death. So, how do we get rid of ignorance? Once a monk came and asked the Buddha, "Venerable Sir, how should one know, how should one see for ignorance to be abandoned and true knowledge to arise?" Buddha said simply, Bhikkhu, when one knows and sees the I is impermanent, ignorance is abandoned, and true knowledge arises. When one knows and sees forms as impermanent, ignorance is abandoned, and true knowledge arises. So you can see impermanence is the gateway, if you want to think as a gateway for insight or insight meditation. And this is the key to getting rid of ignorance, which is a very difficult thing to understand. So when you say I is impermanent, what do we mean by this? Any impermanent thing, you see a rising of the impermanent object. For example, the I here, and changes, and it changes while it's existing, and finally it disappears. So the three characteristics are the arising, changing while it's existing, and its disappearance. So the same thing applies to the object, which is impermanent. There's arising of object, and you can see the change while it's existing. For example, in this case, the person is getting old, and the disappearance, basically the death of a person. So these three things are common to all impermanent things. And again, same applies to our other five senses as well, and their respective stimuli. Now, if we see everything as impermanent, starting with your six senses, and we start contemplating on our body, for example, on perception step here, this could be anapanasati or breath meditation as an example for perception. And also we can contemplate on our feelings. This is the contemplation of feeling. And also we can contemplate on our mental formations. This is known as contemplation of consciousness. And finally, the contemplation of mental objects. These are the four foundations of mindfulness. So the first one is contemplation of the body, kayanupassana, at the level of perception. The second one is contemplation of feeling, at the level of feeling there in this orange box. The third one is the contemplation of consciousness at the level of mental formations. The fourth one, the contemplation of mental objects. This is basically the insight part. So these are like four gates we need to be mindful. And if you're totally mindful of these four gates with our wise attention, we see everything as impermanence, suffering and not self, and there won't be any more craving. Therefore, you can see the flow of the dependent origination. There is no more craving, there is no more clinging, there is no more becoming, no more birth, no more old age, sickness and death. Basically, if we get rid of our craving right here, the whole thing collapses below the level of feeling. So this in fact could be a model that describes a fully enlightened being. They have, you can see they are fully aware and they are within the four foundations of mindfulness with wise attention. There's no more craving, so therefore the dependent origination path does not happen below the feeling. but they have mental formations. They think, and even they teach other beings. So there are applied and sustained thoughts, but no more mental proliferation or perpunction. And this kind of is a basic concept of how the mind can work in a fully enlightened being. Now this is a bit difficult to understand. This I'm trying to explain an experience, an extremely difficult thing to do, just to illustrate what may happen in jhanas, or these are higher states of mental absorptions. So one, say for example, see one is doing a breath meditation, for example, in this case contemplation of the body. After some time you get into a deep samadhi or one-pointed concentration of the mind, and you start losing all your six senses, the information coming in from the six senses. So information is basically coming through your mind and mind objects and mind consciousness, which becomes contact. So in the first jhana, there are four types of jhanas: the form jhanas and the formless jhanas. This describes the form jhanas. The first stage is the disappearance of the senses, and the second stage I just showed, the disappearance of vitakka, vichara, applied and sustained thoughts. And after that there are series of changes of your feeling. There is rapture, bliss, and eventually it leads to a fourth jhana, which is stage of equanimity. I haven't gone into details of this jhana. You may want to read on this, but I'm just trying to illustrate in this model what may happen. And when you go to the next level, that is the arupa jhanas, first stage is space of nothingness. And this second stage is infinity of consciousness.